Today, I take up another very important topic, and that is the law of guidance. I am going to make an attempt to clarify through my lecture, today's lecture, as well as the one on next Sunday, to uh, confidently uh, put across the understanding that the trial of this life that the Almighty has arranged for all humans is a fair trial which provides level playing field to all humans. Uh, the title of the presentation is The Law of Guidance. Before talking about the law, let me mention um, what is guidance. When I use the expression guidance, what I mean is that this world that we are living in is a world that we like, we are attached to it, but it has lots of problems, lots of questions. It's a kind of a puzzle. Guidance, if an individual gets it, he or she is able to understand the purpose behind this creation, God's grand scheme, his grand plan. So that's what guidance is. And the Quran, when you read it properly, you come to learn about the fact that there is a law, there is a policy of the Almighty on the basis of which he provides guidance to people. What is the importance of guidance? The importance of guidance is this, that while all other blessings that we have in this life, all other privileges that we enjoy, they are given to us for the purpose of trial. And this trial is of such nature that we get those privileges uh, not necessarily because we deserve them. They are there with us to avail for a certain while, and they are meant to just test us. You know, whether you talk about health, you talk about wealth, you talk about appearance, you talk about status, you talk about your lifespan, etc., intelligence, um, everything that we have in this life is temporary, is something we do not necessarily deserve, and it's only for a trial. There is only one thing, there's only one blessing, which is given to humans according to the Quran, because they are found deserving it, and that is guidance. And the reason is that it's only through guidance that an individual is going to be found deserving to live in the world of paradise forever. So, obviously, guidance cannot be given to an individual accidentally without him or her deserving it. So, the Almighty has made it a point that it is this particular blessing and none else that He is going to enable people to have only if they deserve it. So, that's why this subject is so very important. But before I talk about the Almighty's policy, I talk about the law that He has set forth for the purpose of deciding who is going to be guided and who is going to be misguided. Let me tell you about a difficulty, about confusion that's there in the minds of many Muslims. And the reason is that they do not read the Quran properly and completely. And therefore, they have a confusion and they live with it. And the confusion is what you will understand from the translation of a part of a verse that I'm going to read out before you. It's verse number 56 of Surah number 28, Surah Al-Qasas. The Almighty is saying, addressing the Prophet, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, "Innaka la tahdi man ahbabta." O Prophet, you cannot guide whom you will. وَلَكِنَّ اللَّهَ يَهْدِي مَن يَشَاءُ. Instead, it is Allah who guides whom He wills. So quite often, people they refer to this verse and some other similar verses, and they claim that, look here, the Almighty Himself is very clearly saying that guidance is going to be decided by Him. He may decide to give guidance to some people and not to other people because He's the one who decides. He is the king, He is the sovereign, He is the decision maker. Who are we to question His decisions? But as we shall see, the Quran, on the contrary, is very clearly telling us that this understanding that God decides about guidance of people randomly, the way He chooses to, no matter whether a person deserves it or not, this understanding is misleading and is incorrect. And there is most certainly a law, policy, a set of principles which the Almighty has decided to be there in place in the life that we are living in, for Him to decide and choose people who deserve to be guided and people who don't deserve to be guided. In order to understand that law, in order to understand God's policy, um, there are certain features of human personality and this worldly life which need to be understood. So I'll mention them one by one. The first feature of this worldly life is that we humans, almost all of us, have been allowed freedom in this life. Our freedom most certainly is not complete. It is not unrestricted, but it certainly is there. And this freedom is very important. It is this freedom which leads to the ultimate possibility, justification for us to be held accountable. Most certainly, some people are more free than others. And most certainly, there are certain exceptions as well. Those people who belong to the category of exceptions are not going to be held accountable. But a vast majority of humans, they are free to choose whatever they want to do. In the environment that they're living in, sometimes that freedom gets restricted. Sometimes it's not quite as restricted, and they can choose and pick whatever they want to. Even in the case where people have restrictions, there is no restriction on the way they think, the way they form opinions, the way they approach the restrictions that have been imposed on them. So, one important feature of human life that ought to be understood in order to be able to appreciate the Almighty's law or policy and guidance is freedom. It's mentioned in the Quran in several verses. For example, in the third verse of Surah Ad-Dahr, Surah number 76, the Almighty says, Inna hadainahu sabil. We gave him, that is, gave man the guidance of the path and understanding of the path, and then set him free. Imma shakiran wa imma kafura. If he chooses to be grateful, he's allowed, and he's free to be ungrateful. It's up to him. So this freedom is at the heart of the understanding of the Almighty's policy. It is this freedom that actually caused angels to be surprised, to begin with shocked, as we shall see that the second half of the verses. Incidentally, the second half, the Quranic verses that we are going to read are going to talk about the same incident, same story. When the angels, when they came to learn about the fact that the Almighty is going to create a Khalifa, they wondered why. Why is the Almighty going to create somebody who's going to create mischief on earth and is going to kill each other, shed the blood of each other? Why did the angels reach that conclusion? Well, because they knew that the grand plan scheme of the Almighty entails that these humans that He is planning to make, to create, are going to be free. They'll make their choices freely. The second aspect of our personality in this life is that we all, obviously, a few exceptions apart, those who are lunatic, those who have no sense are exception. But almost all humans know what is morally right and what is wrong, by and large, details apart. But the essential, basic understanding is shared by all humans about what is good and what is bad. You would not find people saying, and I thought, unless they're out of their senses, they're telling lies. Telling a lie is a great thing. And telling the truth is bad. Harming others is good. Taking care of others is bad. No, it's not possible. There is a long list of do's and don'ts, desirables and undesirables, that the entire humanity shares, no matter which part of the world you belong to, which religion you belong to, which part of the human history you came into this world. Humans by birth have the knowledge, clear appreciation of good and evil. There is a debate. Some people they put across an understanding whether uh, what we what we like and what we dislike, what we approve and what we disapprove, is adapted from the society or it's natural. The fact is that it is natural. There's certain aspects which most certainly are adapted as well. Uh, we can talk about them, but they belong to the category of details. You cannot erase from the conscience of an individual uh, the understanding that taking care of others, taking care of parents is good, desirable. Uh, we'll see that this sometimes is not there, and there is a reason for it. We'll talk about it. The Quran mentions this reality in several passages. For instance, in Surah Shams, Surah number 91, verse 7 and 8, the Almighty says, وَنَفْسٍ وَمَا سَوَّاهَا فَأَلْهَمَهَا فُجُورَهَا وَتَقْوَاهَا. And God presents as a testimony human soul and the way He fashioned it. And He instilled in it its evil and its understanding and its virtue, taqwa, and its understanding. So it was a part of the Almighty's plan that He gave human nature a clear understanding of what is good and what is bad. That's the other feature of this life. Third feature of this life that actually uh, makes it important for the law of guidance to take into consideration, or for us to understand in order to be able to appreciate the law of guidance, is that even though we know what is good morally and we know what is not desirable morally, but still there are people who do evil, and there are people who avoid virtue and goodness. Why? Because this life, in order for it to be a trial, the Almighty arranged for evil to be attractive and for virtue and goodness to be demanding, to be challenging. So the Quran mentions, for example, in Surah Al-Kahf, the 18th surah of the Quran, in verses 7 and 8, uh, it mentions a subject which was required to be mentioned. And the Prophet ﷺ was, informed about it because he used to get upset. He would get upset as to why is it that people are not understanding the message of the Almighty? Why is it that despite the fact that the message is clear and he is doing his best to attract people towards God's message, they're drawing away from it? So the Almighty, in order to make him comfortable, he mentioned in verse 7, look here, Inna jalna ma'ala lardi zinatallah. We have made whatever is in this world, zinatallah, attractive. Why? Linabluwahum ayyuhum ahsanu amala. So that we may try as to who are those people who would do good deeds. وَإِنَّا لَجَاعِلُونَ مَا عَلَيْهَا سَيِّدًا جُرُزًا. But the fact of the matter is that we are going to make sure one day we'll render whatever is on this earth Sayyidan Juruza, barren ground. The idea is that if you were to do evil, you were to tell a lie, and you would feel bad about it, there's going to be protest within you, protest outside you. Why would you do evil? Evil is done because when you tell a lie, it looks attractive. You can see yourself getting wealthy, getting popular. You are able to get things done by fooling others, by deceiving others. You become popular, and so on. So, this life has been made glamorous, attractive. Doing evil becomes therefore possible. There is this pricking of conscience taking place, happening all the time. However, simultaneously, there is this attractiveness of the evil that causes people to go for it. So that's another important feature, which, if you take into account, you would know uh, what exactly is the policy that the Almighty is following. Then there is another aspect of this life which the Quran mentions, and that is that because this life is a trial, whether you are doing something good, whether you are following the right path, or whether you are following the evil path, there is ease, freedom allowed to both. Of course, the Almighty has His wisdom, His reasons for sometimes to not allow people to go beyond a certain limit or to restrict them for not doing certain things. But by and large, both parties, the good people and the bad people, they are allowed to do whatever they choose to, whatever they want to. So he talks about uh, tesir, providing ease and comfort to those who are doing good deeds. So he says, if somebody chooses the right path that he knows by birth what is good. So he chooses the path of goodness. God says, Fasanu yassiruhu lil yusra. We make the path towards easy for him. A path towards ease, al yusra, is the paradise. The paradise is the place of ultimate ease. God makes it possible. It makes God makes it easy for the person to go for. This ease does not necessarily mean material ease. It would sometimes take the form of the individual feeling confident through his prayers, through being in the company of good people, more significantly through reading the Quran, through finding out certain things that are happening around him which are giving him confidence that what he's doing is the right thing. So God has his policy to ensure that even though this life is difficult for good people, he still ensures that they get enough reasons to feel confident, to feel attached to the right path. فَسَنُيَسِّرُهُ لِلْيُسْرَى. We make the path of ease, the ultimate ease of paradise, we make that path easier, possible to be followed, treaded. Likewise, the same policy is followed regarding evil. I mean, it's not that you do what is evil in this life and you're stopped. I mean, who would tell a lie if after telling a lie, you find that your tongue is not able to speak anymore, or it is as if somebody has slapped you on your face, or you're feeling pain, or you've incurred losses. No, that's not the case. The evil path is also made possible to be followed. That is also made leveled for the individual to tread. So he mentions in Surah Al-Layl, Surah number 92, from uh, verses 7 onwards, that 7 to 10, he says that those who follow the evil path, فَسَنُ يَسِّرُهُ لِلْعُسْرَى, we make it easier for them to reach al-usra, the hell, the ultimate doom. He makes it easy, that is, he allows them the freedom. He doesn't stop them immediately. That is what causes many people to be led astray. They are fooled by the fact that even though they are telling lies, even though they are cheating, even though they're committing frauds, life is still going on. I mean, they still have success, they still have luxuries, they still have all the blessings of life. So that's another part of the Almighty's policy. He doesn't stop people immediately uh, when they are doing wrong. So that's another feature. Now we come to another aspect of this trial, which is uh, what the Quran calls khatm qulub. For want of a better translation, I'm saying it's the stage of incorrigibility. Some people become incorrigible. They cannot be corrected. Um, the Quran mentions that when somebody reaches that stage, his heart uh, doesn't guide him anymore. Um, there is this stamp closure which is, you know, put on the heart, and the individual is unable to understand and appreciate right from wrong anymore. In fact, he starts claiming, he starts preaching, letting others know that the evil path is the right path. He justifies it, and so on. Uh, and the Quran mentions that when that happens, humans are not able to appreciate God's message anymore. Their hearts are rendered incapable of understanding God's message, of finding out the right path. They're not interested in it, and their evil ways cause them to become ineligible. So the Quran mentions, for instance, in Surah Al-Mutaffifin, Surah number 83, in verses 1 to 4, Quran says, Wailul lil mutaffifin. Woe to those who give less than due. The traders, they're selling, but when they're selling, they give their customers less than what they deserve. Is a talu al nasi yastawfun. Those who, when they um, take measure from people, from others, they take in full. When they go to somebody else's shop and they buy, they demand in full. وَإِذَا كَالُوهُمْ أَوْ وَزَنُوهُمْ. However, when but if they give by measure or by weight to them, to others, يُخْسِرُونَ. They give less. أَلَا يَظُنُّ أُولَٰئِكَ أَنَّهُمْ مَبْعُوثُونَ. Do they not think that they are going to be resurrected? So in other words, they commit fraud, and they keep doing it. And mind you, the verse is telling us that this passage is telling us that they know what is right from what is wrong. Had they believed that committing fraud and giving others less is a good thing, they would have asked for the same uh, policy to be adopted in their case as well, the same treatment given to them as well. But that's not the case. When it comes to their own interests, they ask for full, because they know that giving everybody in full measure is the right policy. So people commit evil because of their self interest, because of evil ways that they want to follow, and the understanding that they develop that this is what is going to make them successful. These are the people about whom the Almighty mentions a little later in the Quran. إِذَا تُتْلَى عَلَيْهِ آيَاتُنَا. When our verses are recited before them, قَالَ أَسَاطِيرُ الْأَوَّلِينَ. They say that these are the stories of the earlier people, stories of the previous nations. There's nothing new. It's not from God. It's not something true. The Quran says, Kalla, no. These are not stories. They're not legends and tales of the earlier people. Bal rana ala qulubihim. Instead, the truth is that their hearts have been rusted, ma kanu yaksibun, because of their misdeeds, because of the frauds that they're committing. So in other words, if you're doing evil, knowing it to be evil, and you're using your freedom to do it, why? Because it is attractive. It gives you immediate results, immediate dividends. Uh, you know what you're doing? You're causing your own soul, your own conscience to be harmed. The Quran uses many expressions for this phenomenon. The Quran says, ثُمَّ قَسَتْ قُلُوبُهُمْ. Their hearts got hardened. The Quran mentions, أَزَاغَ اللَّهُ قُلُوبَهُمْ. God caused their hearts to be twisted. The Quran says, Summum bukmun umyun. They are deaf, dumb, and blind. That is, Their ears cannot hear anything true now. Their eyes can don't see um, anything that causes them to learn lessons, and their tongue doesn't speak the truth. So these are the people about whom the Almighty says, "Khatamallahu ala qulubihim." God has rendered their hearts to be rusted, to be stamped in a way that truth cannot reach them. Now, finally, for today, I would mention just one more verse uh, where the Almighty says that, when guidance is presented to some people, they accept it. And when it's presented to others, they draw away. And it's just accidental. It's because of reason. I am now reading out verse 125 of Surah Al-An'am, Surah number 6. The Quran says, فَمَنْ يُرِدِ اللَّهُ أَنْ يَهْدِيَهُ. So the one about whom God desires, God intends that he should guide him. يَشْرَحْ صَدْرَهُ لِلْإِسْلَامِ. He opens his heart for Islam, for God's message. وَمَنْ يُرِدْ. And for the one about whom he intends أَنْ يُضِلَّهُ, that he should misguide him. يَجْعَلْ صَدْرَهُ. He makes his heart ضيقا, closed, harajan, narrow, constricted, كأنما يصعد في السماء, as if he had to climb up to the skies. You present to him the message, he's not interested. He becomes uncomfortable. Um, you know, his inner heart as if is narrowed. Why? The Almighty says, كَذَلِكَ يَجْعَلُ اللَّهُ الرِّجْسَ عَلَى الَّذِينَ لَا يُؤْمِنُونَ. Thus, God places filth, dirt upon the hearts of those people who don't want to know. La yuminun, who don't want to believe. That is, those who have been doing evil things, they are incapable of appreciating the truth coming from the Almighty. The truth reaches the souls and hearts of people who have used their freedom to go for the right path that they know is right and to avoid the wrong path they know which is wrong and evil. They know that there are difficulties, but they overcome them, they fight them. And God is picking on the basis of his understanding, his knowledge, those people who are committed to the right path, committed to goodness, committed to virtue. And he enables those people to ultimately get guided. I'm sure that what I've mentioned raises many questions. There's still a long way to go before we are going to be able to appreciate fully what the Almighty has mentioned in the Quran regarding law of guidance. But for today, that's what my presentation was. And be there on next Sunday as well in order for you to be able to understand fully what this whole law is all about. أقول قولي هذا واستغفر الله لي ولكم.